the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah, even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise and shine. Even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise and shine, and the sun will rise and shine.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyid al-Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'awudhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabi Allah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nur Allah. MashaAllah. Viewers of Madani channel, welcome to the show Rise and Shine. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that whoever recites salat upon me 100 times in the day and on the night of Friday, Allah Azza wa Jal will fulfill 100 of his needs. 70 needs of the hereafter and 30 needs related to the world. And Allah Azza wa Jal will appoint an angel who will present this salat to me as you receive presents. Undoubtedly, my knowledge after my demise will remain the same as it is in my life. These are the words of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling him that my knowledge after my demise will remain the same as it was in my life as well. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is hearing us, and these will be presented as presents to him. And we also hear from this that if we recite 100 times on the day and the night of Friday, so please make a habit of reciting Durood Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Viewers of the channel, as you know, after listening to the blessings of reciting Durood Pak, we also have the privilege and honor to listen to some verses of the Holy Quran. And we mentioned it before, if we listen to these verses with attention, then inshallah Azza wa Jalla give you that spiritual uplift, that whatever problems you are going to face today, whatever difficulties you're going to face today, whatever you're going to face today, it'll give you that spiritual uplift, that spiritual energy to face whatever problems you're going to have. So now let's listen attentively to some verses of the Holy Quran. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
میں اللہ تعالیٰ کی پناہ میں آتا ہوں شیطان مردود سے.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
اللہ کے نام سے شروع جو نہایت مہربان رحم والا.
وقفينا على آثارهم بعيسى ابن مريم مصدقا لما بين يديه من التوراة وآتيناه الإنجيل فيه هدى ونور ومصدقا لما بين يديه من التوراة وهدى وموعظة للمتقين.
اور ہم ان نبیوں کے پیچھے ان کے نشان قدم پر عیسیٰ بن مریم کو لائے تصدیق کرتا ہوا توریت کی جو اس سے پہلے تھی، اور ہم نے اسے انجیل عطا کی جس میں ہدایت اور نور ہے، اور تصدیق فرماتی ہے توریت کی کہ اس سے پہلے تھی، اور ہدایت اور نصیحت پرہیزگاروں کو.
وَلْيَحْكُمْ أَهْلُ الْإِنجِيلِ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ.
اور چاہیے کہ انجیل والے حکم کریں اس پر جو اللہ نے اس میں اتارا.
وَمَن لَّمْ يَحْكُم بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ.
اور جو اللہ کے اتارے پر حکم نہ کریں تو وہی لوگ فاسق ہیں.
وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ بِالْحَقِّ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَمُهَيْمِنًا عَلَيْهِ فَاحْكُم بَيْنَهُم بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَهْوَاءَهُمْ عَمَّا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ.
اور اے محبوب، ہم نے تمہاری طرف سچی کتاب اتاری، اگلی کتابوں کی تصدیق فرماتی اور ان پر محافظ و گواہ، تو ان میں فیصلہ کرو اللہ کے اتارے سے और ऐ सुनने वाले, उनकी ख्वाहिशों की पैरवी न करना अपने पास आया हुआ हक छोड़कर।
सदक़ल्लाहुल अज़ीम।
Sallu alal Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Viewers on the channel, we just had the privilege there to listen to some verses of the Holy Quran. And I think as well we will also listen to the translation, albeit in the Urdu language from Kanzul Iman. And I've said it before that we need to have a copy of this in our house, and the English translation is also available now online, and inshallah Azza wa Jalla will be available in the hard copy soon as well. But I think if we at least views of the channel, that when the Holy Quran is recited, then please listen to it with respect. A lot of time what happens is we walk away, we make a cup of tea, we go and do some other task. At that time, just listen to the Quran attentively. And inshallah, you take it as like take it as a medicine for your soul, that it will relieve your soul, it'll ease the pressures that's on your soul. And inshallah, you'll be able to face the difficulties that you're going to face throughout the day. So please make a habit of reading the Quran. And better still, if you were to, as a family, to sit down and read 3 verses of the Quran as a family, translation and commentary, so that everybody can benefit from that as well. So try and make a habit on that. A lot of people say that we wait for a good day to make good intentions. It's wrong to wait for a good day. You should make good intentions straight away and act upon them. If you are going to make a good intention, then okay, let's start today. Let's make a good intention today that we're going to listen to some verses of the Holy Quran every single day, inshallah azza wa jalla. Viewers of the channel, you're watching Rise and Shine. What are we going to talk about today? Well, today is a topic that unfortunately it's a fire in our society that is spreading. And it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And what has happened is maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago, it was recognized as a fire. It was recognized that this is a problem. But now, unfortunately, people don't even realize that it's a problem and just accept it as it's becoming the norm. And because it's becoming the norm, then we're accepting it. And because we're accepting it, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And what we're going to talk about today, viewers on the channel, is unlawful love, haya and modesty. How this has been deteriorated within our society. And as a result of that, we accept things now. We accept things that are happening around us and don't even care anymore because it's the norm. Things that 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago, people would be shocked when they saw them. Nowadays, it is what it is, isn't it? What can we do about it? There's a lot that you can do about it. We're going to give you some parables from the past, inshallah, so we can learn something from them. But at the same time, viewers of my channel, we need to reflect and think that where are we today in this society when it comes to haya, when it comes to modesty, when it comes to the intermingling of sexes, where nowadays it's just acceptable, it's just the norm. Even in religious gatherings, people think it's okay to mix. Why? Because it's a religious gathering now, so it makes it okay. But it's not okay, viewers of my channel. We also have the privilege of listening to the kalam of the day, and I hope that this gives us a further spiritual uplift to face the difficulties of the day. Let's go to the kalam of the day. Sallu alal Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Allahu, 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 Rabb mujhko बुलाएगा मैं काबे को देखूंगा वो दिन भी तो आएगा मैं काबे को देखूंगा दिखा दे मौला काबा दिखा दे मौला काबा दिखा दे मौला मौला बा दिखा दे मौला अल्लाहु अल्लाह अल्लाहु अल्लाह अल्लाहु अल्लाह अल्लाहु अल्लाह हर आँख चाहती है काबा दिखा दे मौला अल्लाह اللہ میرے، اللہ میرے، ہر آنکھ چاہتی ہے کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، حسرت پکارتی ہے، حسرت پکارتی ہے، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، مولا با دکھا دے مولا، اللہ 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 اللہ، کوہ صفا سے دوڑوں مروہ کی چوٹیوں تک، اللہ میرے، اللہ میرے، اللہ میرے، اللہ میرے، کوہ صفا سے دوڑوں مروہ کی چوٹیوں تک، خواہش مچل رہی ہے، خواہش مچل رہی ہے، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، مولا با دکھا دے مولا، اللہ 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 اللہ، احرام پھر پہن کر طواف حرم کروں میں، اللہ میرے، اللہ میرے، اللہ میرے، اللہ میرے، احرام پھر پہن کر طواف حرم کروں میں، میری دعا یہی ہے، میری دعا یہی ہے، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، مولا با دکھا دے مولا، اللہ 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 اللہ، یاد حرم میں آنسو بہنے کو رو رہے ہیں، ایک آگ سی لگی ہے، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، حالات کا ہمارا دامن میرا ہے خالی، اسباب کی کمی ہے، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، یہ ملتزم سے جا کر لپٹا رہے اجاگر، اللہ میرے، اللہ میرے، اللہ میرے، اللہ میرے، یہ ملتزم سے جا کر لپٹا رہے اجاگر، یہ آرزو بڑی ہے، یہ آرزو بڑی ہے، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، کعبہ دکھا دے مولا، مولا با دکھا دے مولا، اللہ 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 اللہ
صلو علی الحبیب صلی اللہ تعالی علی Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. MashaAllah. Viewers of Mother Channel, you're watching Arise and Shine. And today we're talking about haya, modesty, and immoral love. And there's a book that I would advise everyone to have a copy in their households and read it. And it's a book called Questions and Answers About the Islamic Veil. Sheikh Tariqat Amir al-Sunnat, the founder of Dawat Islami, Maulana Muhammad Ilyas Attar Qadri, may Allah Azza wa Jal keep his shadow upon us. He wrote this book and it's been translated into the English language, so you can download it completely free of charge and read that book. Read that book and it has a lot of information with regards to this particular topic. And inshallah, some of the parables, some of the stories that we're going to mention today have been taken from that particular book. And in that particular book, on page 93, it is narrated that in the time of Bani Israel, in the Bani Israel, there was a very pious person. And one day, 3 local brothers came to him and informed them of their intention to travel on a long journey and that they wanted him to take care of their young sister until they return. Now, the worshipper, he apologized because he was afraid that this would lead him to committing a sin by looking after this young girl. But the brothers insisted, because he was such a pious person, that they insisted that, you know, you're the only person basically that can look after him. If you can't, then who will? So please, can you look after him? So eventually he agreed. However, what he said is, he said that that she cannot stay with me. She cannot stay with me, as that will lead, in his mind he's saying to himself that will lead to a problem. She needs to stay in a nearby house. And what I will do is every day, I will come and I will leave food at the doorstep of the house. So the worshipper would then leave some food outside his doorstep, and which he would take it in to eat. A few days later, Shaitan put a shaitanic whisper into the worshipper's heart, and he made him think, she's only a young girl, and she has to go outside for her food. What if an evil person comes out and harms her when she's collecting the food? I think it's best if I leave the food outside her house rather than my own. So instead of leaving it outside his house and for her to come and collect it, she said it's better if he leaves it outside her house. And I will receive a lot of reward for this good intention. He then began leaving the food outside her door instead of his own. A few days later, Shaitan put another shaitanic whisper into his heart. The poor girl, she sits there quietly all alone. What harm is there in giving her a bit of a company? And with the good intention of reducing her loneliness, and this is a good deed, he said to himself. And you are a pious man. You can control your nafs. Your intention is good. She's like a sister to you. And he then began talking to her. Now the young girl's sweet voice began to arouse excitement in the worshipper's heart. Shaitan tempted him further until they committed the sin of fornication. And the girl, she even got pregnant and she gave birth to a child. Now at this point, the shaitan began to frighten the worshipper and said to him that if the brothers find out about the child, you'll be disgraced if this happens. And if you want to save yourself from being humiliated, then kill the baby and bury it. Shaitan successfully convinced the worshipper. And then immediately Shaitan made another shaitanic whisper to him. What if the girl tells the brothers? What if the girl tells the brothers that you've killed her baby child? Then what will happen? It is safer if you murder them both. So the worshipper brutally murdered both of the girl and the baby and dumped them in a pit in the same house. Allahu Akbar. Now when the 3 brothers came back from the journey, the worshipper pretended to sympathize with them. And he said that your sister has died. Come and recite Surah Fatiha by her grave. He then led them and showed them a grave in the cemetery, telling them that it was their deceased sister's grave. The grieving brothers recited Fatiha and left the cemetery. Because this was a pious person, they believed everything he said. At night, Shaitan appeared in the dreams of each of the brothers. Each of the brothers as a traveler, and informed them about the worshipper's ill deeds. He even pointed out where the bodies were buried. And when all 3 brothers woke, they told their dreams to each other. They were convinced that there was some truth in this, and they came to the place that was identified to them in the dreams. And when they dug it up, they discovered the murdered bodies of the sister and her baby. The 3 brothers captured the worship, and he confessed to his sins. The brothers lodged a complaint in the court of the king. The worshipper was dragged out of his worship place and sentenced to be hanged. When he was brought to the prison, the story doesn't finish now, brothers and viewers of the channel. When he was brought to the prison, Shaitan appeared to him and said, do you recognize me? I'm the Shaitan who caused you to fall into the temptation of a woman and led you to this final stage of humiliation. But do not worry, I can save you. Just do as I say. And the worshipper was prepared to do anything to save his life. He said, I will do anything that you say. Shaitan instructed him, deny Allah Azza wa Jal, astaghfirullah, and become an unbeliever. The unfortunate worshipper replied, I deny Allah Azza wa Jal, and I become a non-believer. Shaitan instantly disappeared, and the unfortunate worshipper was executed. That's a story from the time of Bani Israel. And you may think that, okay, that happened then. That doesn't happen now, does it? It does. It happens in many, many different ways in our views of the channel. And just to give you, if I was to relate that to a modern day example, if I was to give you a modern day example of how that would happen today, what happens nowadays is we have these PC tablets. We have our phones that have access to the internet. And on the internet, we have these chat rooms, we have these places where people can discuss, these forums and all sorts of places there. And what happens is when you're in these forums, and there are Islamic forums out there, you can go into forums that can talk about anything. You can go, the benefits of certain types of PC tablets, but there are forums which are Islamic forums in there as well, where people go on and there'll be topics, there'll be questions, there'll be answers, and there'll be discussions that take place as well. And what happens is, when you go to these forums, Shaitan can also start playing with your mind there. Because what will happen is there'll be a sister there. She'll ask a question, she's confused. Maybe she wants to learn the Quran, maybe she wants to learn her namaz, maybe she wants to learn something. And Shaitan will whisper to you and think, oh, what's wrong with this? There's nothing wrong with me teaching a sister. It's online, yeah? I'm not hearing her voice. I'm just going to show her pictures of what book she needs to read, the pages that she needs to read. It's nothing on it. It's only typing. What's wrong with that? And Shaitan will say, well, there's nothing wrong with it. And you'll agree with the whisper of Shaitan and think, oh, it's okay. So then you start typing to them. Then what will happen is because you're not always at your PC tablet or you've not always got internet, then you get her phone number. And you get her phone number and then you start messaging them. Yeah? And you think, well, again, what's wrong with messaging? There's nothing wrong with messaging. But then what happens is there's something maybe that she doesn't understand. She asks you a question she doesn't understand, and you think to yourself, you know what, rather than me typing it, what's wrong if I speak to her, you know, send her a voice message? I'm not going to speak to her directly. That's wrong, isn't it? You know, and Shaitan, all this time, as this is all happening, Shaitan will convince you that the next step is wrong and this is okay. In the same way that the worshipper, if the worshipper was told, look, go and commit fornication with this woman, he would never have gone that far. He would never have gone there. But what happens? It was stages. So now you're convinced that there's nothing wrong in sending this sister a voice message. So you send this sister a voice message. And now what happens is the sister at the other side of the line, she thinks, well, if he sent a voice message, then what's wrong with me sending a voice message? I can send a voice message as well. So then what happens is, rather than text messages, now voice messages start to go. Now you've not seen this person yet, but obviously you start becoming, Shaitan puts this whisper into you, and you start becoming attracted to the voice of this person. Then you might even start asking personal questions. Where do you live? I live at such and such place. How many brothers and sisters have you got? Okay. And then Shaitan will make you ask another question. Okay, how many of your brothers and sisters are married? Yeah. And she'll say, oh, well, 2 of my brothers are married and me and my younger sister aren't married. Oh, right, so she's not married, right? So again, Shaitan is getting you on this path. Now that you know where this sister lives, then what will happen is you start to go and try and look at her from afar. Shaitan will say, well, it's okay, you're just having one look, you're just having a look. You're not going up to that person, you're not going to go meet that person. What's wrong with this? So you'll see them as they're going to the shops, as they're going out to college or whatever it is, you see them from afar. And then Shaitan will put the next step into you and say, well, look, okay, so far we've been voice messaging. What's wrong if I actually ring her? What's the difference? There's no difference, is there? So Shaitan will convince you that, look, it's better to talk to a person, it's easier to talk to the person, and the Shaitan will also put these thoughts in your mind. In the same way that Shaitan put the thoughts in the mind of that worshipper that, oh, poor girl, she's lonely. Oh, poor girl, she needs your help. Oh, poor girl, she needs somebody to speak to. So then you will have this in your mindset as well. So then you think, okay, I'll speak to her. There's nothing wrong with speaking to her. This phone is acting as a parda, isn't it? I can't see her, she can't see me. What's wrong with this? So you start phoning. You start phoning each other. You start talking to each other. And then what happens is you start talking to each other at unruly hours, late at night. Again, this is the Shaitanic's plan that, oh, now it's okay to talk at night, now it's okay to talk. And you start talking about all sorts of things now. And initially what happened was the sister had a query regarding her salah or regarding the Quran or something. She had a query and they've been taken down this path. And now you're talking to this girl in the middle of the night. And then Shaitan will put his final plan into place. And Shaitan will say to you, you know, what's wrong if you actually meet her? There's nothing wrong if you meet her. Yeah? And then a part of your nafs will say, no, hold on, this is wrong, yeah? Meeting someone of the opposite sex is wrong. Meeting someone of the opposite sex is haram. This is something I should not do. And your nafs will tell you this. But then part of you will say, hold on a minute. You know that thing, that laws of Islam, that were made for weak people. Yeah? Them laws were made for weak people. I'm not weak. Yeah? Them are made for illiterate people. I'm a knowledgeable person. I know what I'm doing. Yeah? Them laws, them strict laws. Na'uzubillah, you will call them strict laws now. You start criticizing the laws of Islam. So you're now going to the verge of leaving the fold of Islam. You start criticizing the laws of Islam. You say, look, them are for them people. Them are for them weak people. Them are for them people who are not. I'm strong. I know what I'm doing. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to do anything silly. And you know what? I'm going to prove it. And I'm going to prove that I'm strong. How? By meeting her. And this is all shaitanic plan that's coming into you, that you're saying to you, look, I'll meet her. I'll prove that this is going to happen. And then you meet her. And then what happens? Then we led down this path of having a relationship between these two people. And what happens is sometimes down the road, maybe 6 months down the road, a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, either 1 or 2, 3 things happen. Either you've had this relationship with this person, and as a result of this relationship, then something happens, something goes wrong, and you break off the relationship. But you've now had the sin on your back for the rest of your life of having this relationship out of the bounds of Sharia, out of your marriage. You've had this relationship without the nikah. Or what also happens is then, unfortunately, the girl gets pregnant. The girl is about to have a child. And now you've got 2 options. You either get married to the girl, or you put pressure on her to get an abortion. And then this also happens. We see this in society. And again, just think of the amount of sins that you're now committing. These sins are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. If on day 1 you were told that this was going to happen, you would never have done it. But then also what happens down the line sometimes is these 2 people get married. And when they get married, people think, oh, it's okay now, isn't it? Everything's okay. But the fact of the matter still remains, viewers of Malik Channel, that them sins all along that route, all of them sins that you committed, right, are not washed away by the fact that now you've performed the nikah. No, what happens now is now that you performed the nikah, the sins stop. But all of them sins before that are still in your record. And we forget that. And we think, no, well, you know what, shaitan, you don't even think that shaitan's leading you. Well, it's led me on the right path. I've met this beautiful girl. I'm now happily married. So this is the will of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and it's better for me. And you do not realize that you've succumbed to all of these shaitanic whispers all along the route. That yes, okay, you're now in a car, now you're happily married. But what about all them sins that you committed? What about all them sins that she's committed? That you both have committed along this route. And if on day 1, Shaitan was to say to you, when you saw that message on that board, that a sister wants to learn something about the Quran, that the sister wants to learn something about a namaz, that you see that message and you think, you know what? If I reply to this, this might end up in me committing adultery. This might end up in me forcing her to have an abortion. This might end up in me doing this and doing this and doing. You would never reply to that message. But Shaitan won't show you the final picture. Shaitan will show you stage by stage and entice you in piece by piece. In the same way that worshipper of Bani Israel, on day 1, how did he agree? He agreed that, look, let her stay in a house close by and she can come and collect my food. I'm not even going to open my door and see her. Then Shaitan enticed him to go and put the food at her door, thinking it was a good act. Then Shaitan enticed her to go inside, thinking it was a good act to get away her loneliness. So all along the route, you think that you're doing right. But in essence, what you're doing wrong. And this intermingling of the sexes is what causes these problems, viewers of the channel. One of the beautiful branches of our Iman, viewers of the channel, our haya is there. And if we can protect our haya, if we can control our haya, then inshaAllah Azza wa Jal will be a successful nation. If you have no shame, no fear, because haya, a lot of people try and translate it into the English language, modesty. But haya is something so much more than just modesty. Haya is that a sense of, having that fear of Allah Azza wa Jalla, a sense of awareness that Allah Azza wa Jalla is watching, a sense of awareness of your actions. So this haya, this modesty encompasses all of this. Yes, it involves the covering. Yes, it involves the veiling. Yes, it involves the modesty. Yes, it involves the humbleness. But all of this haya, everything encompasses this. And you see these people today that commit all sorts of sins. And you ask yourself, how is it possible for these people to commit this sin, this sin, this sin? It's because they have no fear of Allah Azza wa Jalla whatsoever. They have no awareness, no fear whatsoever has been removed from their hearts. And you know, viewers of the channel, if you remove fear from your hearts of Allah Azza wa Jal, then you will do anything. You'll be willing to do anything. Rob a bank, steal, mug, kill, do whatever you want. Because you have no fear of Allah Azza wa Jal in your hearts. And this fear is what we need to develop. This fear enables us to stay away from these sins. Condemning the act of satisfying the nafs. Because, you know, this story, them two stories that I mentioned, the story of the Bani Israel and the story of a modern day example. In both cases, what happens is you're satisfying your nafs. That your nafs wants to talk to this person. Your nafs wants you to see that person. Your nafs wants you to meet that person. Your nafs wants you to get closer to that person. And so satisfying that, and this is why we keep on talking on Madani channel of controlling that nafs, having that self-discipline inside us, condemning the act of satisfying your nafs, the bad desires of the nafs. Sayyidina Abu Darda radiyallahu ta'ala said, satisfying the lust for a single moment leads to a long grief. Satisfying the lust for a single moment leads to a long grief. In both of them examples that we mentioned, they were just moments of satisfaction. You know, moments that the person was satisfying themselves. Moments that they're just messaging them. Moments that they're just listening to them. Moments that they're just sending messages. Moments that they're just now on the calls for 2 minutes, for 3 minutes. And then it gets further and further and further, and it leads to a long grief. You know, someone once beautifully said to me, people who commit sin, if you ask them, why are you committing the act of adultery? Why are you drinking alcohol? Why are you taking drugs? Why are you gambling? Why are you doing this, X, Y, and Z? And if it's an act, rather than refraining from something, you know, refraining from namaz is one thing, but committing an act of adultery, committing an act of gambling, drinking, so committing these acts, actually committing these acts, you will ask them, why do you do it? And they say, well, we enjoy it. We enjoy gambling, we enjoy drinking, we enjoy taking alcohol, we enjoy taking drugs, we enjoy committing adultery, we enjoy going to these parties where there's songs and music and dance, and we enjoy going to these places. For one moment, I'm going to agree with you, yes, you get pleasure, okay? And that's debatable as well. But okay, let's say that you do enjoy yourself. Let's say that you do get pleasure. Let's say that it makes you happy. I'll ask you a question. How long does that pleasure last? That pleasure of fornication, that pleasure of drinking, that pleasure of alcohol, the pleasure of drugs, the pleasure of going to those places of sin, the pleasure of gambling, or whatever it is, how long does it last? It lasts for a few moments, a few minutes, an hour, a day, not even that, I don't think. Max, maybe a day. Now I'm going to ask you another question. How long does the sin remain with you? Yes, viewers of my channel, that sin will remain with you forever. So when you're committing this sin, that sin will remain with you forever. So that example that I made of the brother and sister through the internet, they met each other, and right at the end, they got married, which was a good outcome. But all of them sins that they committed all the way up to there, they will remain with them forever. Them sins are in their book of deeds. And that's something that we need to think about. And in the same way, although it's off topic, views of my channel, the same person that mentioned me never commit a sin for the sake of pleasure, because the pleasure will disappear and the sin will stay with you forever. He also went on to say, never leave a good deed for the sake of hardship. You're getting up in the morning for Fajr, it's cold, you're walking to the masjid, it's raining, you're fasting in the hot days, or whatever it is. Never leave a good deed for the sake of hardship. Why? Because that hardship will disappear. That pain, that cold, that suffering will disappear. But what will remain forever is the good deed. So never commit a sin for the sake of pleasure, because the pleasure will disappear and the sin will remain forever. And never give up a good deed for the sake of hardship, because that hardship will disappear and the good deed will stay forever. Viewers of my channel, you're watching Arise and Shine. We're now going to go to the reminder of the day. Let's see what we're going to learn today. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Many respected viewers of Madani channel, today we will listen a fascinating account of a Sahabi Rasul radiyallahu ta'ala an, insha'Allah azza wa jal. Hazrat Sayyiduna Abu Usaib radiallahu ta'ala an says that one night Prophet of Allah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam came out of his house and called me. I went in the blessed court of my master sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. He sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam asked me, let's go. We passed by Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala an. He was also asked to join. We then passed by the leader of Muslims, Sayyidina Farooq Azam radiallahu ta'ala an. He radiallahu ta'ala an joined us too. We kept walking until we entered in the garden of one Ansari. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam said to the owner of that garden to serve with half-ripe dates. The Ansari companion radiallahu anh presented a bunch of dates. My beloved master sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam and companions alayhim ridwan ate them together. Subhanallah. How fortunate were those Sahaba Kiram who had the company of Mustafa sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. After that, he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam asked for water, drank it, and then said, on the day of judgment, you will surely be questioned about the blessings of the day. Hazrat Sayyidina Abu Usaid radiallahu ta'ala says that Sayyidina Farooq Azam radiallahu ta'ala and smashed a bunch of dates on the ground, and dates dispersed in front of Prophet of Allah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Then asked, O Prophet of Allah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, will we be asked about this too on the day of judgment? It was replied, yes, except three. Piece of bread which removes hunger, that cloth which covers sitr of the body, and that house which protects from hot and cold weather. Other than these three, one will be questioned about each and every blessing. My dear respected viewers of Madani channel, Alhamdulillah, we have got so many blessings other than these three mentioned. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has showered many blessings upon us. Alhamdulillah, myself, yourself, and there are many in the world. They are really fortunate enough in many, many, many ways. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has showered His blessings upon us. We need to value them. We should respect and appreciate the favors of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, the blessings of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. But unfortunately, we waste a lot of water, which is a great blessing of Allah. When we are doing wudu, when we are washing our car, or maybe we are washing plates, we waste a lot of water. It's a great blessing of Allah. If you want to know the value of this, you should ask those areas where the people don't have clean water to drink. Dear respected viewers of Madani channel, if you want to know the value of this water, which we do not appreciate, ask its value from those areas where animals and human beings drink water from the same pond. Allahu Akbar. Today we waste a lot of food. When we are eating at home, half plate is eaten and the rest is there. If you want to know the value of this food, then ask those areas where people, they eat leftover. They don't have food to eat. They even eat once a day or twice a day. If Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has given us food, we should appreciate the blessing of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Dear respected viewers, today Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has given us health. We need to appreciate this. We can see, we can hear, we can talk, we can walk. All body parts are all fine. If you really want to know the blessings and you really want to appreciate the blessings of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, favors of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, you want to know its qadr and value, then go to hospital, then you will know how fortunate we are, Alhamdulillah. So this is a message, because on the day of judgment, each and everything will be questioned. We have to give answer to that. May Allah Ta'ala give me tawfiq to appreciate the blessings and favors which are upon me and to all of us. Ameen. Bijahi Nabi al-Ameen. Sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. MashaAllah, some beautiful Madri pearls there from Rizwan Bhai from London about the blessings that Allah Azza wa Jalla has bestowed upon us. And again, I think we take things for granted, don't we? You know, because we've got an abundance in food. You know, I came in here, I didn't even have to ask for a cup of tea. A cup of tea came. We take it for granted. You know, whenever we come here, we never think to ourselves that, you know what, if we turn on the tap today, will there be or will there not be water? Because it's there. It's there all the time. When we come into the building, we switch on the electricity and we know the electricity is there. We know that the water's there. We know that when we go home, food is in our fridges, in our cupboards. We know that it's there. And because of these things, we waste it. We take it for granted, viewers on the channel. And all of these things, we need to protect, we need to look after and not waste any of these things. Don't take anything for granted. Don't take that food for granted. Do not take that water for granted. Do not take that electricity for granted. And you know, in a blink of an eye, that can all go. And you think, well, how's that possible? You know? How is it possible I can lose all my food, lose all my water, lose all my electricity, lose all my money? Look around you, viewers on my channel. Look around the world. When you see the tsunamis, you see the earthquakes, you see the floods. These people that were living in big houses, yeah, now they're living in camps. They've got nothing there other than the clothes that are on their backs. So everything that you have got is a blessing from Allah Azza wa Jalla, and you need to learn to look after it and not waste it. And one of the things that is a great blessing that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you, one of the greatest blessings that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you, that again, we take for granted. It's another thing that we take for granted, but it's more valuable than any water, any food, any wealth, any money, any gold, is your iman. And because the majority of the people that are watching this program are probably born into the fold of Islam. We were born in a Muslim household. From the moment that we were born, within a few hours, the azan was read in our ears. You know, we had the akikah done, we were brought up in a Muslim household, we went to the madrasas, we went to the masjids, we were taught the Quran at a young age, the majority of us. And because of that, viewers of the channel, we don't value our iman. And again, that's something that we take for granted. And we don't do anything to protect our iman. Yeah? So we need to value our iman and don't waste it. And these things that we're talking about today, and on many of the days on our channel, all of these spiritual diseases that we're mentioning, they're all putting a risk on that gift that you have been given, that blessing that you have given. They put a risk on you losing that. And if you understand the value of the blessing that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you, the value of the gift that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you, you protect it. We protect our wealth, we protect our houses, we protect everything. But what about our iman, viewers on the channel? And this, what we're talking about today, losing your haya, losing that modesty, unlawful love, and all of these sort of things. If you look at it, viewers, this is what can lead you to going and losing your iman. In the same way that we mentioned earlier on the story of that young man, that when we started to talk to someone on the internet, and at the end, what did he do? He started to question the laws of Islam. He started to question the laws of Islam and saying that them laws are for other people. They're not for me. They're not for this. They're not for this. Now that is taking you to the edges of losing your iman, and maybe even losing your iman when you're questioning the rulings of Islam. When you think, na'uzubillah, you think that you know better than Allah Azza wa Jalla. You think that then things were there for just certain individuals. The Quran didn't come down for certain people or certain degree holders and not for these. No, it came for everybody. The commands of Allah Azza wa Jalla came for everybody. No matter who you are, where you are, what you are. It came for everybody. So again, when you don't realize what this is happening to you, that person, think about it, that person that I mentioned, what did he do initially? Initially had an Islamic mindset. He went to these forums with the intention of hoping to possibly learn something about Islam. He went there with that intention, but when he let get there, Shaitan started to entice him down this path. So again, viewers of the channel, there's a message there for us, that sometimes what appears to be a good act is actually leading you down this path. Yeah? In the same way that person from Bani Israel, a good act of looking after that girl, a good act of putting the food outside his door, a good act of putting the food at their door, a good act of going inside and doing the loneliness. And all along this, he's saying to himself that, you know, I'll be rewarded for this. I'll be rewarded for my good intentions. But sometimes, viewers of the channel, you haven't to look at just your intentions. Look at the action as well. Look at what that action can lead to. Look at what that action can lead to, and you will see that by leading to this intention, by following this intention, it can lead you into dire straits. And like we mentioned earlier, we've had this many times. Many times here in the UK, we've had people phone us up and they said to us, you know, brother, can you arrange for our nikah? Yeah, no problem, inshallah. Yeah, well, my girlfriend's going to come as well and she'll bring her 2 kids. Okay. They're your kids? Yeah, they're my kids. So for all this amount of time, you've been staying with them together, you've had 2 children together, and now you want to perform the nikah. Okay, Tiga, we performed the nikah, but have you ever thought to yourself, all of them sins that you committed up to that point? And you know, we have this mindset that, you know what, now what happens is people wake up sometimes. Shaitan has made you commit all these sins. Yeah? He's made you commit all these sins, and now you all of a sudden wake up and think to yourself, you know what, I need to perform the nikah. Yeah, because I've done wrong. Nikah, getting married, stops you from committing more sins. Getting married, performing nikah doesn't wash away all of them other sins. And that's where we're going wrong. We think that that's what it does. It washes away those sins. And unfortunately nowadays, viewers of my channel, this intermingling of the sexes causes so many problems. And again, we think it's innocent. Even in religious gatherings nowadays, you see the men and the women sitting together and think, well, there's nothing wrong with this, is it? We're in a religious gathering. Or if it was a wedding, then okay, I can see the point. But being a religious gathering, no. Do you think that Shaitan only goes to them weddings where there's intermingling, and Shaitan, when he sees a religious gathering, says, no, I'm not going to go here? It doesn't happen like that, viewers of the channel. When he sees a religious gathering where there's intermingling, Shaitan thinks it might be even easier for him to do his job. Because he will realize now that the people that are here, they've got this mindset that I can convince them all along the line that what you're doing is right from a religious point of view, and cause them to commit this sin. Remember, viewers of the channel, the rules of Islam, sometimes we think that Islam is strict, Islam is hard, Islam is this, Islam is that. But whatever Islam is, whatever you think about Islam, it is for our betterment. And you know, we all claim to be lovers of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The lovers, the true lovers of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they didn't question the Prophet. They didn't say to the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, oh, why should we use miswak? Oh, why should we grow a beard? Oh, why should we wear an Imam Sharif? Oh, why should we? No, they never did this. The Prophet did it, they did it. Labbaik. The Prophet commanded them to do it, prohibited them from doing it, they followed. They didn't argue, they didn't question, well, you know what? It's okay, isn't it? And you get people now questioning the laws of Islam. For example, there'll be scientific research that will say, oh, you know what? It's okay. You know, it's good for your health if you take 1 glass of wine a day. Yeah? Scientific research may say this. But what does the Quran say? The Quran says no alcohol whatsoever. And this is one of the beauties of Islam, viewers, if only we understand. Quran and Hadith, Islam, Shariat prevents the illness in the first place. Nowadays, people are looking for cures of illnesses, looking for cures of diseases, cures for problems. What Islam does, it prevents the illness happening in the first place. Where you will say, drink 1 glass of alcohol, Islam will say no, prevent it from even going there, because 1 can lead to 2, 2 can lead to 4, and so on. When in society they will say to you, look, if you're going to take drugs, then don't share your needle. Just get your own needle, don't share it with anybody. Islam says no drugs. Society may say to you, look, if you're going to have relationships outside of marriage, then take precautions. Islam will say no relationships outside of marriage. Because whatever precautions you take, it can lead to other sorts of things as well. So Islam is there about preventing the illness. Yes, it is a cure for the illness as well, but it also prevents the illness happening in the first place, if only we follow and listen. And as a result of that, viewers of the channel, we must understand that one must observe the veil from the daughter of his father's elder brother, younger brother, the daughter of his mother's brother, father's sister, the daughter of his mother's sister, all of those people, viewers of the channel, that Islam allows you to get married to, you must observe parda between them. And this observing the parda is not just the sister covering it, it's also you as brothers staying away from them, not talking to them, not sitting down with them, not mixing with them. And don't just think, oh, because they've got a veil on them, then it's okay, I can talk to them. No, even then you need to stay away. And this may seem harsh, oh, she's my relative, oh, she's like a sister to me. You know, and this like a sister to me statement that we make, what does that lead us down to as well? And you see it so many times, oh, she's like a sister to me, it's okay, she's like a sister to me, it's okay. And next thing you hear, they're getting married, or next thing you hear, they're having a child. Was this like a sister to me? No, she's not like a sister to you. Your sister is your sister, full stop. Nobody else is your sister. Don't be fooled by shaitan saying, oh, she's like my sister, oh, she's like my brother. No. This is a shaitanic whisper that happens so much in society today. Oh, she's like your brother. Oh, she's like my sister. There's nothing wrong with her because she's like my sister. Oh, there's nothing wrong with her because she's like my brother. This is again a shaitanic system, viewers of Madani Channel, that we need to refer from this. And viewers of Madani Channel that are here in the West, that are watching this program here from the West, they will see it happening so much. And they see it happening so much that what happens now is our haya levels, our modesty levels are falling so much that we accept things now. We don't blink an eye when these things are happening, and we don't concern ourselves about it anymore. Let's go to the hadith of the day. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Insha'Allah Azza wa Jal, today I will mention to you a hadith in regards to the 99 names of Allah Azza wa Jal, and a blessing of learning these 99 names. Has been narrated by Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He says, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu ta'ala wasallam said that Allah Azza wa Jal has 99 names, one less than 100. Whoever memorizes them will enter into paradise. And in another narration, he is one and he loves odd numbers. So in this hadith, they have mentioned 99 names, but they haven't restricted it towards 99. As you can see in Dalailul Khairat, the author has mentioned 201 names for Allah Azza wa Jal. And in Madarijun Nabuwa, the author has mentioned 1,000 names for Allah Azza wa Jal. But in regards to these 99 names, whoever memorizes these and learns them, then inshallah, if Allah Azza wa Jal wills, He will enter him into paradise. And the reason for this is because when you say the names of Allah Azza wa Jal, in reality you are praising Allah Azza wa Jal. And when you do this, it will make Him happy, and if He wants, He will enter you into paradise due to His rahmah, His mercy. So when it says whoever memorizes them, it also means whoever memorizes them and invocates them daily. So you learn them and you read them every single day, and then due to this blessing of praising your Lord every single day, He will enter you into paradise. I do dua to Allah Azza wa Jal that He gives us all the ability to learn these 99 names, and due to the blessing of these 99 names, enter us into paradise. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Viewers of the channel, you're watching Rise and Shine, and maybe the topic that we are discussing today may make you maybe feel a little bit uneasy that we're talking about haya, modesty, unlawful love, and all of these things that are associated with it. But these are the true realities, viewers of the channel. We can't bury our heads in the sand and think, no, these problems don't exist. And think to ourselves, no, this is not happening. It is happening, viewers of the channel. To the extent that now we have lost our haya to such an extent that things are becoming acceptable around us. You know, someone gave an example once. He gave an example of a frog and a pan of water. And if you were to put a frog into a pan of hot water, then what happens is that frog, as soon as it touches that hot water, it jumps out. Because the hot water is not adjusted to the water. It's a cold-watered animal, and that hot water all of a sudden hits it and it jumps out. It screams and it jumps out. But put a frog in cold water where it's comfortable. And then put the heat on below. And slowly put the heat on. Just leave the heat on very, very low. And what happens is the water starts to heat up. The frog starts to adjust to the water. It adjusts to the water, adjusts to the water, adjusts to the water. And what happens is, scientifically we are told, that what happens is, as the water gets hotter and hotter, that as the animal, the frog is adjusting to the temperature, it's getting weaker and weaker. And then when it gets to a temperature where it's going to harm that frog, or that frog cannot get out, it doesn't have the strength to get out of that pan, and it dies. Now you may say to yourself, why is he talking about frogs on Rise and Shine? What's that got to do with the program? I'll explain. Here in this country in the West, When anybody comes from abroad for the first time, they come from an Islamic country, they come from a Muslim country, they come into the UK for the first time. They may come from Pakistan, from India, from the Arab Emirates, or they come here for the first time. I don't know if it's ever happened to you. You pick them up from the airport, you're coming home, and it's a sunny day, it's a nice warm day. And on the way home, your passenger's going, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. And you think, what's up with him? Why is he saying Astaghfirullah every 2 seconds? It's because he's seeing things that again are against his nafs, are against his control. He's seeing the billboards with half-naked women. He's seeing the half-naked women walking down the streets and he's going, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, but you're not. Why? Because it's become normal to you. He is like that frog that's jumped into that hot pan of water, and you're like that frog that's in that cool pan and the temperature's been turned up and up and up, and you don't even realize it. You don't even realize that you're spiritually dying. You don't even realize that you're dying, and the further thing is, you can't do anything about it. You haven't got the strength to do anything about it, and you are dying inside spiritually. And these things are becoming accepted in society. And because they're becoming accepted in our society, we are like that frog. We are dying. And we don't blink an eye on it now. There used to be a time 10, 15, 20 years ago, here in this UK, where if somebody was mixing with somebody of the opposite sex, then they would do it in hiding. They wouldn't do it openly. They would go and meet at places that nobody knew were there. They'd meet in parks when it was dark and there'd be nobody. They'll meet in these places. Now what happens? They meet openly. They go to restaurants. They eat at food places, coffee places. They'll go walk down the street together. They'll go into book a place together. They'll even rent out houses and flats together. And everybody knows that they are not married, but they don't care. Why? Because they've lost their haya. And they don't bother about this now. And society is changing now that it's accepting all of these things. But Islam doesn't accept that. And we need to realize that we shouldn't accept it. Just because it's become the norm, doesn't mean to say it's acceptable. And again, viewers on this channel, one thing that you need to be very, very careful about is that in Islam, if something becomes normal in society, doesn't mean to say that just because it's become normal, it's accepted in Islam. You know, in the beginning of the 20th century, 1920s, in America, they had a prohibition on alcohol. Alcohol was banned. And it said that the American government spent billions of dollars trying to get rid of alcohol, but they failed. And in the end, they said, okay, we'll just bring it back. But Islam, when Islam said no more alcohol, it said that the streets of Medina were running with alcohol in the streets because everybody smashed the bottles and just poured them in the streets. So what is the difference? On one point, you got millions of dollars being spent. On the other side, the word of Allah Azza wa Jal. The command from the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that told us that this is prohibited. And it was stopped. Certain things are accepted in society, but doesn't mean to say they're accepted in Islam. Nowadays, it's accepted to have relationships outside of marriage. Islam doesn't accept this. Now it's accepted to drink alcohol. Even now in certain societies around the world, they're trying to convince the governments, and in some places they have been successful, that drugs is okay. Let's take drugs, it's okay. Not in Islam, viewers of the channel. So never confuse the two. Never say to yourself, well, it's accepted by this government. It doesn't matter. What is Islam is there and it stays there. And don't try and be a mufti yourself and say, well, you know, that's for somebody else, that's not for me. No, it's for all of us. And we need to be really aware of this, viewers of the channel. We need to be aware of this. Allah Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Rahmatullah Ta'ala has stated that the one who trusts his nafs has trusted a big liar. You know, your nafs says, this is okay, that's okay, this is okay, that's okay. Allah is saying the one who trusts that is the biggest liar. The Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that when a man is alone with a strange woman, shaitan must be the third one. And regarding this blessed hadith, the famous commentator Hakim al-Ummat, Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan Naimi, Rahmatullah Ta'ala said that whenever a man is alone with a strange woman, however pious they may be, even if they are together for a religious cause, shaitan will most certainly activate evil between them and arouse the sensual emotions. There is a danger of them committing a sin. Therefore, one must be very cautious of such seclusion. It is necessary to avoid the causes of evil, to avoid fever, cure the flu and the cold. You know, viewers on the channel, what happens is when two people are together and the third is not there, then what happens is them two people, they start to think to themselves, well, nobody's watching. Yeah? So I can talk differently now to them. I can smile a bit more to them. I can greet them a little bit more now. And again, this is shaitanic whisper. Nobody's here, are they? Allah is watching. Allah is watching. As we heard earlier on from the examples, that Allah is always watching us. If we remember this views of the channel, that Allah Azza wa Jal is watching us, then inshaAllah Azza wa Jal will be successful. We're going to go to the kalam of the day. Sallu alal Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Ya Ya کعبے پہ پڑی جب پہلی نظر کیا چیز ہے دنیا بھول گیا یوں ہوش و خرد مفلوج ہوئے دل ذوق تماشا بھول گیا کعبے پہ پڑی جب پہلی نظر کیا چیز ہے دنیا بھول گیا کعبے پہ پڑی جب پہلی نظر پہنچا جو حرم کی چوکھٹ پر ایک ابر کرم نے گھیر لیا پہنچا جو حرم کی چوکھٹ پر ایک ابر کرم نے گھیر لیا باقی نہ رہا پھر ہوش مجھے کیا مانگا کیا کیا بھول گیا باقی نہ رہا پھر ہوش مجھے کیا مانگا کیا کیا بھول گیا کعبے پہ پڑی جب پہلی نظر کیا چیز ہے دنیا بھول گیا کعبے پہ پڑی جب پہلی نظر احساس کے پردے لہرائے ایمان کی حرارت تیز ہوئی احساس کے پردے لہرائے ایمان کی حرارت تیز ہوئی سجدوں کی تڑپ اللہ اللہ سر اپنا سودا بھول گیا سجدوں کی تڑپ اللہ اللہ سر اپنا سودا بھول گیا کعبے پہ پڑی جب پہلی نظر کیا چیز ہے دنیا بھول گیا کعبے پہ پڑی جب پہلی نظر جس وقت دعا کو ہاتھ اٹھے یاد آنا سکا جو سوچا تھا جس وقت دعا کو ہاتھ اٹھے یاد آنا سکا جو سوچا تھا اظہار عقیدت کی دھن میں اظہار تمنا بھول अकीदत की धुन में इजहारे तमन्ना भूल गया, काबे पे पड़ी जब पहली नजर, क्या चीज है दुनिया भूल गया।
Sallu alal Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I keep on asking the technical team to put that kalam on. It's probably my favorite kalam at the moment. And it brings so many emotions back, and it makes you think about those fortunate people that are able to go and see the blessed Kaaba. And it remembers, alhamdulillah, I was blessed with the opportunity to go. And it reminds you of the time that you saw the Kaaba the very first time, and the feeling that you can get in your heart. And every time that people go, no matter how many times you go, it's one of those places in the world, Makkah and Medina, that normally people, when they go around the world and they've been somewhere, they say, oh, I've seen that, I've done it, I've got the t-shirt, I don't need to go again. But when people go to these places, to these sacred lands, that magnetism is there, that you want to go back again and again and again. And these kalams, this is why we have these kalams, views with each other, to develop that love inside us, to develop that intensity of that magnetism inside us, to call us that we want to go back, that we want to go to that sacred place, that we want to go there, to develop that love of anything that's attributed to the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ultimately to develop that love in our hearts of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So please try and listen to these kalams. I've even asked the technical team to send me. Viewers of Malaysia, we are talking today about unlawful love, how the fact that we're losing our haya, how the fact that our modesty has gone out the window, how the fact that we're seeing so much a downfall in our society, and a lot of it is revolving around this. And alhamdulillah, I feel honored today that we have a guest all the way from South Africa, Maulana Tabrez, mashallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Maulana Sahib, with regards to the topic of the day, what I was saying earlier on, because I think I'm a little bit older than you, Maulana Sahib, I'm getting quite old now. I can remember a time when Maulana Sahib, where when I was young, that if anybody was doing this, it was like they hid it. They did it, but they were ashamed or embarrassed to let anybody know about it. Nowadays, it's open. Nowadays, we're openly committing this sin. And our youth are not afraid of this. And it's become the norm. You know, there's a word, urf. Yeah, it's become the urf now. And because it's become the urf, as they say, it's become acceptable. So, I mean, what words of advice can you give to our youth, especially those that are growing up in a society where, yes, they have to mix with the opposite sex. They go to schools, they go to colleges, they go to workplaces, they go to all of these places. And it is hard. I'm not saying it's an easy task. And whatever mother pearls that you're given or that we've given so far that you're going to give, I know it's not easy to fulfill these, but obviously it is for our benefit. So what advice would you give to the youth of today that are growing up in a society like the societies in South Africa, here in the West, or basically anywhere now? We cannot say that any society is saved from this. We cannot say, oh, let's take our children to this country and we're saved from this. That everywhere you go around the world, this problem exists. What advice would you give to the youth of today?
If we analyze the situation, we would realize that those things have become very common that makes a person commit sins, such as, you know, people going out at night, late at night, having friends according to Islam, according to Sharia, which is illegal, which is totally prohibited and haram, intermingling of different sexes, the tools that makes a person commit these gunas and sins, such as mobiles and internet access and all of that. It's a topic which every now and again we normally speak about, Khalid Bhai, and if you analyze the situation, it's because of this freedom, in the name of freedom. You know, I mean, like if you go back in those days, if a father had to correct his child and say, you know what, you're not going to leave the home, whether he's 18, 20, 21, 25, he would be silent and he would respect his father or his parents, whoever, for instance, will correct him. But in this day and age, if a father has to correct even a 10-year-old child, he will back chat with his father, with his parent, and say, well, it's my life. You cannot correct me as to how I want to do things. So that shows, Khalid Bhai, that they are exposed to the modern world a lot. And because we have forgotten our culture, we have forgotten our background, we have forgotten that our role model is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And because of being so much exposed to the Western world, to the fashion world, you know, everyone is living in a dream kind of a world where we follow our fantasies and stuff like that. And due to that, everything is stuck in the mind. Everything is about the mind. You know, I want to be like this. I want to be like that person. And everyone feels, because freedom, I can achieve that target if I have to. And this is the beauty of Islam, that Islam abandons these useless and purposeless activities. If Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in one hadith in Sunan Tirmizi Sharif has mentioned, min husn al-Islam al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'ni. To abandon useless and purposeless activities is one of the beauties of Islam. So these activities that the youth of today get involved in are one of the reasons why they are exposed to those things that will then of course lead them to gunas and sins. And astaghfirullah, then you hear many other doors of gunas and sins that then open, and then families get involved and fights happen. And in fact, it's a shame thing to say this on air, but Khalid bhai, this is one of the realities, in fact, that even parents, as parents, they allow their children to do what they are doing. I mean, they are approving them moving around and going and doing things that they wish to do. And when the right time will come, then they will basically, get the Maulana Sahib to perform the nikah. And the 3 words will be said, wa nikahtuha wa qabiltuha wa tazawwajtuha, now you are married. But for the first 2 years that they live together, they stay maybe under one roof, all of that is permissible. They can go and roam around, go to the malls together, do what they feel like doing. As parents, maybe he's a Haji Sahib, he's a Namazi Sahib, he's a very pious person. But when it comes to these things here, they believe, no, it's not my life, it's his own life. He or she knows very well what they're supposed to do, what's right, what's wrong. But as parents, we did not draw the line for them, or maybe did not train them and give them the tarbiyah that was needed. And this falls under the category of respect and adab. And because of not having this, the youth are saying, his parents allows him, only my parents don't allow me. Why is it so? So it's hard to find children, even girls and boys put together, Now, this is one very important thing that we should be focusing on as parents. If Allah Azza wa Jal has blessed us with this great ni'mah of children, then we should know that if Allah Azza wa Jal has blessed us with children, what are the rights we have over children? Yes, it is their life, but we have to mold them into the teachings and into the lifestyle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in order to save them from the fire of hell. Otherwise, it will be too late, Khalid bhai. And many youth out there have been destroyed simply because of not being stopped at the very beginning. They're exposed to drugs. They're exposed to many unlawful things in Islam, besides even unlawful love itself. So may Allah Azza wa Jal protect the youth out there. I want to mention this beautiful couplet. मोहब्बत गैर की दिल से निकालो या रसूल अल्लाह, मोहब्बत गैर की दिल से, मोहब्बत गैर की दिल से निकालो या रसूल अल्लाह, मुझे अपना ही दीवाना बना लो या रसूल अल्लाह, मुझे अपना ही दीवाना बना लो या रसूल अल्लाह. May we really become the true followers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and end every illegal and every prohibited relationship, whether it is to do with the world, whether it is to do with the people of this world, and maybe follow the Quran and Sunnah as our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has directed us and informed us to do, Khalid bhai.
Maulana, one thing that you touched upon there that I just want to emphasize or really get some views on you as well, is you mentioned the fact that, giving the tarbiyah to that child, and he's a 10-year-old child and he says it's my life, and yes, the terminology that people now use is my life, my rules, I can do what I want. And many times, it'll definitely happen in South Africa, it happens all around the world, that you get the phone call from the distressed parent or the distressed older brother or whatever it is and say that, can you please help my child? I'm worried about what's happening in society. And the child's already 20, 24 and is committing all sorts of sins, and now they're worrying about him when it's too late. Whereas occasionally, and it does happen, and it has happened here in the UK, I remember one of the sisters, she sent this message to us via her madams, that she got a phone call from somebody who said that they're really, really worried about their daughter. They're really, really worried about what's happening in society, and they're worried that their daughter will become affected by what's happening in society, that society is falling apart, and how can I safeguard the iman of my daughter? And when the sister asked her, how old is your daughter? She said, my daughter is 2 months old. And Maulana Sahib, that's the time where we need to make a change in our children. And a lot of people are watching this program now probably saying that, what Maulana Sahib is saying is really, really good, that we need to control our children at that young age. We need to, sort them out at that young age. But it's so hard. It's so hard to do. And in response to that, Maulana Sahib, you see that, I don't know if you've had this experience yourself, but here in the UK, whenever we go out to call people to the path of righteousness, we call them to the masjid, we meet them on the streets, we meet all sorts of people. We meet people who've committed adultery, we meet people who are gambling, drug dealing, whatever, you name it, they've committed all of the sins. And you can write a whole book on the list of the sins that they've committed. But there's one sin that I've not come across. And the reason why I've not come across that sin is because that child was given the tarbiyat from a young age. And that is eating pork. I've never seen any Muslim that I have met that will say, oh yeah, eating pork is okay, and I eat as that. And then never you see them eating a bacon sandwich. And you think to yourself, why is that? And that's because from a young age that child has been taught that this is horrible, this is dirty, this is smelly. And children are even brought up, they won't even say the word, they'll say P-I-G, they won't even say the word pig. They'll spell it out, they think it's so dirty. But in the same way that if a child can be brought up, Maulana Sahib, thinking that is so dirty, so smelly, that even when they go past a shop, they'll go to the other side of the road because of the smell and the stench. They'll go away from that shop. Why can we not instill that these other sins are so dirty as well? That alcohol is so dirty as well. That fornication is so dirty as well. And if we can instill this hatred for certain things, why can we not instill the love for certain things as well? What is it that our parents need to do, to bring up the tarbiyat of the children? How can we empower our parents? How can we help our parents? Because there's a lot of parents out there saying, yes, I don't want my child being involved in adultery. I don't want my child involved in drugs. I don't want my child involved in this. But what can I do? Society is out there. They've got the internet. They've got mobile phones. They've got all of these things that happen. What can I do? And what happens is the parents, they know it's wrong. You talked about those people that accept it. But there's a lot of parents out there that know it's wrong, but they feel, so weak that they can't do anything about it. What advice do we give to those people?
Khalid Bhai, I just received a call 2 days back of a parent that was very much concerned about the son and mentioned that this is the only son I have, and the son is so out of hand. He actually steals the stuff from the home and he goes and sell it in order to, to buy whatever he wants, such as drugs and other things like that. And I have no way to go. I don't know what to do. He's out of hands. And this thought then comes to mind, Ya Allah, this is one case, whereas there are hundreds of cases like that where children have gone out of hand. And as parents, they want to stop the children. They don't know what to do. My Naqis Mashwara is, Khalid Bhai, is that, even the scholars have directed us that when Allah Azza wa Jal blesses a person with this great bounty, such as children, from that little age, such as 2, 3, 4, from the child is small, from the time the baby is small, we should basically, train the child in the right way. Firstly, our focus should be that the child's heart and mind should be purified. Instill fear in the child's heart in terms of Islam. This is the beauty of Islam. Islam doesn't like we must eat pork. Islam doesn't like we should consume alcohol and stuff like that. And instill the fear for the hellfire, because Jahannam is there. From that little age, I know kids that I always often asking their parents, well, if I do this, will Allah punish me? If I do that, will I go to Jahannam? I have seen a 7-year-old child asking me a question such of that nature. If I do this, will Allah Azza wa Jal be happy with me? And I was shocked, and I saluted the parents for that, because from that little age, they trained their child that, son, if you do not use your hat and eat food, then shaitan will partake. If you don't read your du'as, your surahs before sleeping, then shaitan will worry in your dream, in your sleep. And then the child realizes, okay, so this is Islam. Islam is always alerting me, protecting me from the evils of this world. On the other hand, from that little age, the children that did not receive this type of training, when they reach the age of puberty, such as 10, 14 and above, then of course, since they were not trained in that way, after that age, what are you going to instill in their heart when now their hearts and minds are turning out to be like rocks, Khalid Bhai? I have seen children who are perhaps behind closed doors. My child doesn't go anywhere, mashallah, is always behind doors. But what they do behind the doors, they're on the internet, surfing and browsing the internet, watching haram stuff, or either listening to music. And it is these things that happens behind the doors, behind closed curtains, under the blanket, that it's filled in the ears. It poisons the mind, it poisons the heart. Therefore, Hazrat Sayyidina Allama Jalaluddin Suyuti Ash-Shafi'i rahmatullahi ta'ala had stated that protect yourself from music. Now, music is one aspect. I mean, if you look at if you do a survey, Khalid Bhai, and have a look at what are the percentage of our youth out there who are hooked onto rave and music and all of that. They cannot do without it. Some of them say it's actually the food for the soul. Astaghfirullah. So Imam Jalaluddin Suyuti rahmatullahi ta'ala says that protect yourself from music. Why? Because it excites the feelings of lust. It destroys the honor, and it is like wine. Even if a person says, well, I don't drink wine, but yeah, the music is so intoxicating. It's already like wine, and containing the evilness of intoxication, effectiveness of intoxication. So a person, if is intoxicated with music, for example, his mind is already intoxicated with music. So what happens that he will have no adab, he will have no respect, he doesn't know how to make salam to elders, he doesn't know how to reply back in a calm and a gentle way, he'll always be angry and irritated. And shaitan then tosses such a person like how you flip a coin or like how you play with a football. So he's like that, and then when he snaps, how he will snap, how he will leave your hand, you won't even realize, and then you will be holding your head and saying, wow, you know what, my child was never like that, Maulana Sahib, I don't know what happened to him. Please, do you have one white taweez to remove the black magic from him? It doesn't happen that way, Khalid Bhai. It actually happens when you are as a parent, and then you instill all these values in your child from that little age. A child is like a clay, you know, like mold, like wax. The form that you give to the wax will take that specific shape. Likewise with your child, from that little age, train him, teach him adab. Today our families sit together in front of the television watching, you know, such haram stuff on the TV, and the child is watching and saying, well, my parent doesn't tell me to go, so why must I go? Astaghfirullah. And this is how it is. They together enjoy the movies, they together enjoying whatever's shown on the television. So the same child then wants to go and explore himself as to how it's experimented, how it's done, what's happening. He wants to see, he wants to know, because he's in a learning process. So instead of putting the right viruses in him, the right programmings in him to remove the viruses, we're actually giving them the viruses, and it's ruining their bodies, their minds, their hearts. And because of that being ruined, the entire system is then corrupted, Khalid Bhai. This is where, as parents, we need to take the bull by its horn and say, well, you know what? The advice is there, Quran and Sunnah is there. Look and learn as to how Rasulullah had given his grandchildren and his own children attention. Today we have no time whatsoever, and we blame it on the child, whereas we have given them the open hands to say, you know what, as parents, I have seen parents saying, you know what, Maulana Tabriz Bhai, I am shocked, even I don't know how to handle this mobile, but my son knows how to do it. And he's only 3 years old, but I don't know how to use the internet, but my son knows how to do it. It's really shocking. I mean, you're supposed to feel ashamed of yourself that the child who's 3 years old knows how to do things which you don't know. Then why did you allow him in the first place to handle such, operations and mobiles that you don't know what he's going to do next with that? So this is the time where we should draw the line and say, Inshallah, I'm going to make dua for my son or my daughter or my grandchildren to become pious. Teach them and give them the ethics of Islam, inshallah. In this way, you will see a bright light in the future, inshallah.
Jazakallah Maulana Sahib, Jazakallah for your time. May Allah Azza wa Jalla reward you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ameen. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
MashaAllah. Viewers, inshallah, Maulana Sahib give me so much food for thought there that I could continue talking for another hour. But we're going to take a small break now, and then we're going to come up and sum up the program, inshallah, as well towards the end of the program. Let's go for the small break. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
In some of our routines, some of the things we don't usually pay attention, or we might neglect, but some of the things I'll share with you, Islam has the importance of it. Sayyidina Abu Sa'id radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who performs 5 deeds in a day, Allah Azza wa Jal will write his name amongst the dweller of heaven. What are those 5 things? Number 1, visiting a sick person. Number 2, attending a funeral salah. Number 3, fasting. Number 4, offering the Salatul Jumu'ah. Number 5, freeing a slave. So viewers of Madani channel, think about it. How much we pay attention on those stuff. Visiting a sick person has a reward of it. Offering a funeral salah, we trying to avoid the funeral salah, and there's a reward of it. So make an intention. If you get a chance to participate on those kind of activity, try to do so. If not, make an intention every day. Inshallah, you will get the reward of the hadith.
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Viewers of the channel, you're watching Rise and Shine, and today we've been talking about immoral love, loss of haya, modesty, and all these problems that we're facing in society, and all of the things that encompass them. I've only got 1 minute left, and there's so much I could say to you, but basically, well, as I've touched upon one subject there, which is the internet and all of the things that our children are on the internet. What are they doing on the internet? What are they watching on the internet? Do we even have a control of it? There used to be a time where we used to advise people, put the computer in their living room so you could see. But nowadays, people have PC, tablets, and phones, and they disappear. What are they watching? I don't know, and you don't know. I just want to leave you with this letter that was wrote to us about someone. And this will make you understand the problems that we are facing and how we all need to collectively work together to solve this. This person who wrote this, he said, how are we supposed to do it? I'm a male in my 20s. I'm Muslim. I've graduated from university and I have a great and stable job. Alhamdulillah. But I feel like I'm being tested from everything and everyone around me. All my friends drink. My events at work are bars. My Muslim friends drink. The Muslim girls I meet just want to date. How are we supposed to fight off these temptations every single day? It was hard enough struggling with this at college. I didn't realize how much harder it would be in the real world. Sometimes I feel a little bitter that my Muslim friends get to experience these fun times and then I just repent and practice later on. I feel so inclined to drink lately and to date these girls. It's so hard finding young Muslim men here who practice the religion as well as Muslim women. My iman was so strong after Allah guided me midway through my university. Now I feel it is dying. I'm trying everything I can to be patient and increase my faith. Maybe it is a sign of the times, but I recall a hadith when the Prophet said, there will be a big time when holding on to your faith is like holding on to a hot rock. Viewers of the channel, this is a reality that's happening around us. But Dawat Islam is here to help you, viewers of the channel. You know, we talk about the friends and this association. Associate yourselves with Dawat Islami. Associate yourself with the environment of Dawat Islami. These people, these brothers will help you to stay away from these sins, will enable this. For the sisters, attach yourself to the sisters movement of Dawat Islami, and they will enable you, they will teach you of how to live your life. Same for the brothers as well. So my final message for the day, viewers of the channel, on this blessed day of Jummah is please associate yourselves in the environment of Dawat Islami. If you want to protect that gift that is most valued than anything else you have, your iman, attach yourself to Inshallah Dawat Islami, and they will teach you how to protect your iman. They will empower you with those things that will enable you to protect your iman. Viewers of the channel, you've been watching Arise and Shine, and I hope and pray that we've learned something today. Inshallah Azza wa Jal, same time, same place, next week, Inshallah Azza wa Jal. But in the meantime, keep watching Madri channel. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah, even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise and shine. Even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise and shine. And the sun will rise and shine.